on by. The vacuum tubes are warming up. This is a special live broadcast right here on Georgia Radio.
Well, if you were listening to Classic Country and Request this week, you knew I was just blown away by a young artist from down in Pooler, Georgia. He's got a new album out that is just, I'm telling you, you got to go listen to this guy. It's available wherever you download your music, and I would encourage you to go and do this one. I've got his link tree saved in this show's story. So as soon as the live broadcast is over here, you can go visit the podcast version of this or our blog article at georgiaradio.com, and you'll find the link tree here for Cole Goodwin. But he's joining me now from his home down there in Pooler, Georgia. Cole, welcome to Georgia Radio. Glad to have you here.
How are you doing? Thank you for having me.
Man, I'm doing great. You know, it's not often that you listen to so many songs, but I can't. I'm trying to think back when the last time this happened, and I shared this with you just briefly, but I heard Picking You Up the other day. I sat here and I'm like, who sings that? Who sings that? I heard that on the Opry like a month ago, and I this vivid memory of hearing that song sung by someone else, and then my brain starts working on it, right? And I'm sending it to a buddy of mine, in Nashville, and some other folks, and we're all having this same thought, and then slowly we come to the realization that this young guy in Pooler, Georgia wrote this song, and it's just incredible. I mean, it's so singable, it's so memorable, and it's this song that has a sound to it that when you hear it, you're going to think the same thing. You're going to think, this is just incredible. And you wrote all of the songs on this new album.
I did, yeah. I appreciate that. I appreciate those kind words. I did. I wrote all 5 of them by myself.
I listened to that one first, and it's I don't know how I found it first, but I listened to it first, and it's got a very commercial sound. I mean, it's a
right.
Great song. It's going to fit on country radio. You're going to be a huge star, and that song is going to get picked up by who knows who to sing it if you don't do it yourself. But then, oh my goodness, I scroll through the album because the program director in me just does that, where you just keep going, and I come across White Rose, and dude, right then I became the biggest Cole Goodwin fan, probably next to your mother and grandmother.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
I don't know I don't know where you got that. I don't know how you came up with it. I mean, it's the story you hear so many times, but
yeah, that one kind of came. I kind of wrote that one as a story first, working for my uncle in Statesboro at a convenience store. Matter of fact, shout out Pojo's Country Stores. But I got to see everything I wanted to be and everything I did not want to be, and a whole lot of what I did not want to be working there. And that's just one of those things that I got to see over and over again. So
yeah,
I figured I might as well write a song about it.
You and Sky Shaddles, I don't know if you know Sky, but wrote that song called Cocaine, and much like you, his parents worked in, or they still do. They're both in public service as first responder types, and he's just heard all these stories and wrote this song that comes at you very, very honestly and real. And he's never experienced anything like that personally. So that's what songwriters do, right? I mean,
right.
You're this sort of sieve for life that it flows right through you. And White Rose, I'm telling you, that is just a remarkable song. I hear
thank you.
I hear Sierra Farrell when I hear that. I hear so many different people. What are your influences? Because you're a young guy, you're 22. Talk to me about your influences.
I'd like to think I'm an old soul. I've been told I'm an old soul, but I'm probably the stuff that's influenced me the most, or the stuff that I get stuck on the easiest, is kind of that outlaw country era. The Waylon Jennings, Hank Williams Jr., George Jones, even Chris Christopherson, Willie Nelson. I love that kind of stuff, but I'm a music fan, so I go through phases. I might listen to nothing but bluegrass one week and then turn around the next week and listen to nothing but blues, or nothing but classic country. So I'm a big 90s country fan too. I love all that stuff, but yeah, probably mostly the Waylon Jennings, Hank Williams Jr. era is kind of what I tend to get stuck on a lot.
Well, that's the good stuff. I mean,
right on.
Are you a writer
that's probably
or
a good problem?
Well, I was going to ask you, are you a writer or a performer? What do you think?
I was definitely a writer before anything. Matter of fact, I joke with the guys in my band about playing these college towns, and for younger crowds, I have to walk that fine line between entertainer and musician, which if it was up to me, I think I would probably stand there and close my eyes with a guitar all night and just be a musician. But there's definitely a fine line you got to walk, and I really do enjoy putting the guitar down sometimes and cutting up and dancing around. I'm a goofy person, so I like to move around a little bit every now and then.
Well, that's good. Can we talk about your family just briefly? Because
absolutely.
You've got two younger sisters you've got twin younger sisters.
Right on, double trouble.
You just graduated. And,
I did.
And you've got these two younger sisters that are in school right now, not far behind you. And I'm guessing that they probably come to your shows and they're like, Cole, they are your best critics probably, are they not?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they're the ones telling me pick the guitar back up.
Don't sit there with your eyes closed.
Right.
Play something we can dance to.
Do something cool.
That's the best part of this, isn't it? To have your family involved. I want to get into a few of these songs that we're going to play, and I was going to ask you what their favorites are because family always has a different take on it. Right.
They, it's funny. We were just talking about "Try Me," which I think is it's the second track on there. I think it's gotten the least amount of love out of all of them, and that's my family's favorite one, I believe.
Just "Try Me."
It's one of my. Yeah, it's personally one of my favorite ones, which kind of just fell out. There's really not necessarily a special meaning behind that song with me, but it kind of just fell out, and I enjoyed playing it, so I added it on there, and it's one of my favorites, and it's one of my family's favorites too, I believe. But yeah, it's kind of gotten the least amount of play so far.
Silver Buffalo Sound, Jason Bible down there near you in South Georgia there has a studio. He's a guy that plays a lot around. People probably know the name Jason Bible, but you were talking to me about his studio there, Silver Buffalo Sound, where you actually cut this EP, and it's a great story album, and it's one that you talk about your heroes and the people who influence you. You start this thing out with an intro, and I haven't heard an intro on an album. Maybe Jamie Johnson. Here,
and that's kind of where that came from.
Is it really?
Yeah, which I've always been a fan of art, especially when it comes to music and just being different and kind of changing things up. And I've always kind of, which like I said, this is my debut release, so I've never had anything before this, but I've always kind of had in the back of my mind, I'd love to have an intro track on something, because I've heard, like you said, Jamie Johnson do one. I've heard Ashley McBryde do one, the Steelwoods do one, and I've always thought it was really cool and different. So, that's actually my mom, Sherry Goodwin. She sings, and she sang with her two sisters in a gospel group called the Green Sisters, because her maiden name is Sherry Green. But so that's actually them singing "Consider the Lilies" in that intro track.
No kidding. So there is no excuse for pitch or off harmony or anything like that in your family. You're going to get nailed to the wall. There's no auto tune on this album. This is none. This is the real deal. Love it. I love it. Can we hear "Picking You Up"? Tell me the name of the song, because I'm going to say it wrong. I hear it in my head because I've already heard this song on the Opry, as I've told you, by a woman and who knows who else. But it's all you. Tell me about "Picking You Up."
Yeah, that one. I think I was on the way home from class in Statesboro one day, and I had the melody in my head. And I don't remember what I was listening to. There was one song that I listened to. I was like, man, I kind of like that. And I all of a sudden got this melody in my head that I'd never really heard before, never really thought of. And I was humming it on the way home. And I think I turned into my neighborhood in Statesboro. And by the time I made it from the front of my neighborhood to my house, I had the chorus in my head. And then I just went home and ran straight to my room and grabbed a guitar and got on the couch. And it kind of just fell out. I think I wrote that song in like 10 or 15 minutes, and it just happened, which I always enjoy those. And I always think those are some of my better songs are the ones that kind of just write themselves. But, that's kind of where that song came from. And I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed playing it.
We're talking to Cole Goodwin today, and he has this new album that's out, and it is just absolutely fantastic. If you don't already have a copy of it, you can download it with the Linktree link that is in this show's story. I want to talk about White Rose here because this is one of those story songs that so few people write anymore, and I love that you're not inhibited. You just wrote this song, and it's not a song that would be probably considered on a commercial album if you were signed to a big label.
Right.
And this song is what I listened to Picking You Up, and then I thought, okay, that's great. I mean, what a great song. And then you just knocked me over with this one. I like, holy smokes, where did this come from? So where did this come from? You were talking about working in the convenience store, but
right.
I mean, this is a work of art that in my opinion had to have happened, much like what Hank Williams used to say, where God writes them and I just move the pen. But I mean, this is really, really great stuff, Cole.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Like you said, I was working for my uncle and at Pojo's Country Store in Statesboro.
Did you hear that? And, Pojo's Country Store in Statesboro, and how many other locations?
Yeah, I think there's 6 or 7 locations now. I know off the top of my head, I think there's 2 in Statesboro, maybe 3 in Statesboro, 1 in Baxley, A-Line, Sylvania. I'm sure I'm missing another one.
There you go. Well, he'll tell you. All right, so so you're working there.
Yeah, so it's kind of on the outside of Statesboro, kind of out in towards the country, or maybe where the country starts. And I was working there after class every afternoon, so I would get to see, as you can imagine, many different types of people come in there and
not
different
representative
stories.
Of all of his customers. We don't want to make you think that you're going to walk into Pojo's.
Hey, those are some of the greatest people I've ever been around.
I know what you mean. You see all types that come in there.
Absolutely.
I get it.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that it happens more often than I would like to imagine, but it's a true, it's a fact that stuff really happens, and I got to see it day in and day out. So I was at my grandma's house, who also lives in Statesboro, one afternoon. Actually, today's her birthday, so shout out Granny, happy birthday. But I went in her back room and was just kind of piddling with my guitar, and it's another one that kind of fell out. I think there's 4 verses in that song, and I wrote the first 3 in about, I think, before supper was ready, and then I think I finished it up the next morning or the next day. So it was another one that kind of it happened fast, which I always like that, and I always think there's a reason they happen fast. But
Willie Nelson always said it just wasn't that hard. I mean, I never thought it was that hard. The good ones never are. I mean, that's what's so incredible about that song is it just comes from somewhere else, and
they just happen.
Have you gone back to your high school English teacher and just given that person a hug?
I have not. And, it's funny you say that, because I absolutely hated writing essays or just writing in general in school, but it always seemed to be what I was best at. I could write an essay. I just hated doing it. And
poetry was out of the question.
Yeah, well, we didn't do much poetry in high school, but maybe I would have got a good grade in that.
Man alive, I'm telling you, White Rose is that is the song that I will forever link with you and anything else that you do down in the future. We're talking to Cole Goodwin about his latest album, his debut album. If you don't already have it, you got to go get it. It is available wherever you download music. You can look at the Linktree link here, and it'll take you right to it. You were talking about Try Me, and this is a song that your family loves and that you love, and you said it's gotten the least amount of love on the whole album. And I think last I checked, it's done. Yeah, it's had the least amount of love, which I don't know. It kind of threw me for a loop. It was one of my favorites, but isn't that funny? I mean, and now we know, right? So just imagine if Waylon Jennings and all those heroes of yours could tell that. My guess is, and I had this advice early on in my career, they say, never look at the numbers. Just don't look at the numbers. Look at them later, but don't let the numbers influence what you're doing. And this song is near and dear to your heart. Where did it come from?
Believe it or not, it's another one. All these songs, I think Yeah, most of these songs on here, all but maybe one, were fairly new songs whenever we took them into the studio. Aside from White Rose, I think it was maybe a year and a half old, and then the last track, Make Me Believe You Love Me, it was about 2 years old. But yeah, it was some new material that I had that I'd been working on in Statesboro, and they were all songs that I thought were heavy hitters that all kind of just happened and kind of just fell out. And it was one that it was something a little different for me because I get stuck writing slow songs. I get stuck writing sad songs, and it kind of just fell out and was this quicker, more upbeat, kind of just driving country song. And it struck me, kind of struck a good nerve with me, and I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed playing it. And I was like, I got to put that on there. It was cool to me.
Well, Cole, I can't thank you enough for coming on. And
man, thank you for having me.
No, listen, this has been a pleasure, and I want you to be a regular. Will you come back on Georgia Radio and share more with us as you're playing out there and getting these jobs? If people want to hire you, how can they?
Yeah, you can find me on any social media, Cole Goodwin Music. That's Facebook, Instagram. I'm on YouTube. I'm even on TikTok now. But yeah, all my contact information is through the links in my bio on all those social media platforms.
Yeah, so if you want to hire him to come and play the VFW Hall in your hometown or wherever, Cole is there. And you better do it this year because, as you heard Cole say, he's heading off to Nashville to play here. Well, maybe you didn't say that, but you told me that. You're heading up to Nashville.
Yeah, we're heading Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to shoot up there Monday and play a writer's round and then come back home and get back to it. You
don't take songs like White Rose, Picking You Up, and Try Me to Nashville and not get heard. So if Kermit the Frog walks in with a Rich and Famous contract, just hold on and we'll say we knew you win. But I have, my father-in-law remembers hiring Alabama to come down and play a show before anybody knew him. And I always hold on to that. So listen, if you're hearing this and you're hearing the music, you got to go get a hold of Cole Goodwin. And our secret music scout just loves you. And he's been thinking about who he can send over our way. And he knows you. He's friends with everybody that we discovered. And I'm talking about our dear friend Tom Kersey. And Tom seems to know everybody who's anybody. And so you come highly recommended from Tom and a whole bunch of other people. You're playing a show with another friend of ours, Clayton Hackle, in September.
Yeah, Clayton's a great guy.
So you're doing it right, man. Cole Goodwin, thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you so much.
Georgia Radio. We love you more than peach cobbler and ice cream. So glad you're here.